Hi, this is Teacher Molly, and last month our students were studying mystery books, so they've read a little bit of Nate the Great Stalks Stupidweed. This is by Marjorie, Weinman, Sharmat, and illustrated by Mark Simone. Nate the Great Stalks Stupidweed. To my son Andrew, who I'm sure would have given me his enormously helpful suggestions, even if I didn't do his laundry. I, Nate the Great Detective, was weeding my garden. My dog Sludge was digging in it. Oliver came over. Oliver always comes over. Oliver is a pest. I have just lost a weed, he said. No problem, I said. You may have all of mine. But this was my weed, Oliver said. Can you help me find it? I, Nate the Great, am not going to look for a weed. I only take important cases. This is an important weed, Oliver said. I bought it for a nickel at Rosamond's Adopt-A-Weed sale. Rosamond picks weeds that nobody wants, and she finds homes for them. I believe it, I said. She gave me a certificate of ownership, Oliver said. He pointed to something sticking out of his back pocket. It was a thick, rolled-up piece of paper with a ribbon tied around it. Oliver pulled the paper out of his pocket and handed it to me. I untied the ribbon and unrolled the paper. It was long. It had printing on it. Oliver, owner of Superweed, born 6 weeks ago in the left corner of the vacant lot on Oakdale Street. Rosemary's guarantee, your money back if not satisfied. There was a shiny seal stuck on the paper. It also had printing on it. See, it's an important weed, Oliver said. It also came with a record that Rosamond made to play to her weeds to help them grow. Be proud you're a weed, wild and free, and you might grow up to be a tree. Rosamond thinks big, I said, as well as strange. I gave the certificate of ownership back to Oliver. He put it in his pocket. Tell me, I said, what happened after you bought the weed? I took it home, Oliver said, but it looked sick. I played Rosamond's record for it. Then it looked sicker. So I went to the library and found a big book about weeds. I took it home. I read about sick weeds and healthy weeds. The book told me how to make sick weeds healthy. It gave 3 steps. Step 1, put the weed in dirt. I got a pot with dirt in it. Then I stuck the weed in it. Step 2, give the weed sun. I took the weed in the pot out to my back porch and put it on my railing, where the sun was shining. Step 3, give the weed water. I went into the house for a glass of water. When I got back to the porch with the water, the pot was there, but the weed was gone. Perhaps the weed did not like what you were doing to it, I said. Perhaps it escaped. I never did the 3rd step, Oliver said. I have already solved your case, I said. Today is a breezy day. The weed blew away in the breeze. The breeze is going east. Your weed could be in China by now. But China is way outside my porch, Oliver said. And my porch is screened in. I, Nate the Great, do not want to look for your weed, I said. I would not know it if I found it. My weed looks small and scraggly and sick, Oliver said. It has a yellow bud. Rosamond said it will grow into a flower that will reach as high as the sky. That is why I bought it. Oliver stood there and looked up at the sky. He might stay forever if I did not look for his weed. Very well, I said. I will take your case. I wrote a note to my mother. Dear Mother, I am on a small, scraggly, and sick case. I wish I weren't. I will be back. Love, Nate the Great. Show me where your weed disappeared, I said to Oliver. Oliver, Sludge, and I walked to Oliver's back porch. It was screened in. I looked for holes and cracks, but I could not find any. I looked at the railing. It was covered with dirt. A pot of dirt was sitting on it. Beside the pot was a big book with a dirty fingerprint on the cover. But I could read the cover. It said, Wonderful Weeds of the World. I walked around the porch. I looked in corners and under and on top of things. Sludge sniffed. "Your weed has to be on this porch," I said. "But it isn't here." "This is a tough case. I must go to Rosamond's Adopt-A-Weed sale. Perhaps I will learn something there." "I will follow you," Oliver said. "Not if I can help it," I said. I, Nate the Great, and Sludge ran to Rosamond's house. She was sitting outside behind a table that was covered with weeds and cats. There was a big can of water under the table. There was a sign beside the table. "I am looking for Oliver's lost weed," I said. "He lost his weed?" Rosamond asked. "That was my star weed. It will grow to the sky. It's superweed." "It's sick," I said. "Oliver didn't love it enough," Rosamond said. "Would you know it if you saw it again?" I asked. "I know all my weeds," Rosamond said. "I keep a list of them in this book." Rosamond opened a book she had on her lap. "Oliver's weed had a yellow bud," she said. "I already knew that," I said. "And its name is superweed," Rosamond said. "I know that too." I, Nate the Great, had a better name for it, but I did not think that Rosamond would like Stupidweed. "You have already told me everything I know," I said. "Oh, good," Rosamond said. "I knew I could help you." Rosamond closed her book. Annie and her dog Fang were coming down the street. Sludge ducked under the table. He knocked over the can of water. It fell on Rosamond's feet. Plop! "Sloppy Sludge!" Rosamond cried. "You got my feet wet!" This was not a good day for Sludge. He was afraid of Fang, and he was also afraid of Rosamond's cats. I spoke to Annie. "I am looking for a weed with a yellow bud on it." "Maybe Fang ate it," Annie said. "Is Fang a weed eater?" I asked. "Fang will eat almost everything," Annie said. "Watch." Annie shouted, "Fang! Weed!" Fang grabbed a weed in his teeth and started to run away. "You owe me 2 cents, Fang!" Rosamond shouted. Rosamond's 4 cats ran after Fang. I hoped that Fang and the cats would have a big fight. I hoped they would all lose. The world would be safe forever. Sludge ran out from under the table. He knew it was time to leave. We had to look for Stupidweed. But where? Perhaps we should look where lots of things grow. Perhaps we could find a clue in the woods or in a park. Sludge and I walked to the woods. We peered inside. It was dark and scary in there. It was almost as scary as Fang. I, Nate the Great, hate cases where I have to be brave. Sludge and I crawled into the woods. We heard something behind us. It was gaining on us. It was Oliver. Sludge and I hid behind a tall tree. Oliver ran into the woods. Sludge and I ran out. We ran to the park. We sat down on a bench. Everything was sunny and bright and safe. I liked it there. Flowers and plants were everywhere. Was there a clue among all these growing things? Was there a weed? Suddenly, I saw something. It was Claude. Claude is always losing things. He was crawling down a path among the flowers. "Did you lose something?" I asked. "A worm," he said. "It crawled into the ground. I can't see it, but I know it is in there. It's right under our noses. Can you help me find it?" This was not a good day for me, Nate the Great. I had been asked to find a weed. I had been asked to find a worm. It was time to do something important. I went home and made pancakes. I gave Sludge a bone. I thought about the case. I had to find the weed and lose Oliver. But I was stumped. The weed could not have left Oliver's porch. But it was not there. I thought about clues. What had I learned? The weed's name is Superweed. I knew that was not important. The weed has a yellow bud. Maybe that was important. Maybe it wasn't. The weed was last seen inside a pot on Oliver's railing. Last seen is always important. What was Oliver doing just before the weed disappeared? He was reading from a book and looking at his weed, and turning away from his weed to go into the house. Were those clues? I thought of Rosamond. She was strange. That was not a clue. That was her problem. Then I thought about her book and her can of water.